Hello, my dear one. I'm so glad you're here with me because today we are going to talk about something many people silently carry but rarely understand. That strange, heavy feeling when nothing brings you joy anymore. And I want you to hear me gently. This experience does not mean you are broken. It does not mean you are failing, and it certainly does not mean something is wrong with your soul. It simply means your inner being has been overwhelmed for too long and is asking for tenderness. You see, emotional numbness is not coldness, it is protection. It is the mind's way of building a temporary shelter around the heart so that the pain doesn't crush you. And even though this shelter is built out of love for you, it can also block the joy that tries to reach you. So many people come to me and whisper, "Louise, I don't feel anything anymore. I don't feel happy. I don't feel sad. I just feel nothing." And I always place a hand over their heart, look into their eyes, and say, when you shut down pain, you shut down love too. Not because you meant to, not because you failed, but because your beautiful heart was simply trying to survive something that felt too big, too sharp, too heavy. Numbness is the body's instinctive response to overwhelm. It numbs to protect. It numbs to shield. It numbs to help you keep going. But over time, the same walls that shielded you begin to imprison you. And then life starts feeling flat, muted, distant, as if you're watching your own existence through a window. My dear, you are not alone in this, and you are not stuck. Emotional numbness is not a life sentence. It is a pause, an invitation, a sign that your heart is asking for gentle attention. When everything feels muted, it isn't because joy has disappeared. Joy hasn't gone anywhere. Joy is patient. Joy is quiet. Joy is waiting at the edge of your awareness, hoping for permission to return, but it cannot enter a heart that is bracing itself. Joy needs softness. Joy needs openness. Joy needs a heart that feels safe enough to feel again. And here is the paradox. Numbness both protects you and confines you. It helped you move through pain that you didn't yet have the capacity to process. It served you in its own way. It was your inner wisdom saying, "Let me carry this for now." But your heart is not meant to live behind walls. Your heart is meant to feel the full spectrum of life, the sweetness, the light, the laughter, the warmth, and even the tears. Yes, even the tears. I want you to remember this. You cannot choose to feel only the good emotions. When you shut one door, you shut all the doors. This is why joy feels far away, not because it is gone, but because the door is closed. So let's begin opening that door, gently, softly, lovingly. And we begin with something many people avoid: vulnerability. I know, the world taught you to be strong, to keep moving, to hold everything together. But strength without softness is armor, and armor keeps love out. My dear, you do not heal by tightening. You heal by loosening. You heal by allowing. You heal by turning inward and saying, "It's safe to feel again." Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is honesty. Vulnerability is truth. Vulnerability is the brave act of turning toward your own heart instead of running from it. And when you allow yourself to feel even the smallest emotion, a sigh, a heaviness, a warmth, a tear, the numbness begins to melt. You see, numbness is not the absence of feeling. Numbness is suppressed feeling. It is feeling that has curled in on itself, waiting for gentleness. And this is why I often say, feel your feelings and you free your heart. When you allow a small wave of sadness to pass through you, you make room for a small wave of joy. When you allow a moment of honesty to rise, you create a doorway for happiness to come back in. You don't need to feel everything all at once. In fact, you shouldn't. You heal in tiny openings. You heal in little cracks of light. You heal in brief moments of softness, just a little at a time. Let me share something with you. Numbness dissolves when the heart feels safe. It dissolves when the mind stops attacking itself. It dissolves when you stop demanding that you snap out of it and instead whisper, "Sweetheart, take your time." So many of you speak to yourselves with impatience. Why can't I feel happy? Why can't I be normal? Why can't I just move on? And those questions do not heal. They only deepen the disconnection. When someone is numb, what they need most is compassion. They need warmth. They need gentleness. They need understanding. And that someone is you. You need your own compassion more than ever. So let us imagine that you and I are together, quietly, without rush. I would ask you to place a hand on your heart, not to force anything, not to change anything, but simply to acknowledge that you are here, alive, breathing, worthy. I would say, just feel your hand. Feel the weight of it. Feel the warmth, because that warmth is connection, and connection is the antidote to numbness. Do not try to feel joy immediately that will overwhelm you. Start with noticing. Notice the pressure of your hand on your chest. Notice the rise and fall of your breath. Notice the tiny sensations, warmth, tightness, stillness. Notice without judging. Notice without fixing. Notice without performing. When you begin noticing the small things, the heart begins to wake up. It begins to whisper, "I'm still here. I've been here all along." And I want you to hear this with all the love I have. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not empty. You are not broken. You are not missing the joy gene. You are healing, and healing often feels quiet before it feels joyful. It feels still before it feels alive. It feels strange before it feels natural. You are in a season of thawing, and thawing happens slowly. First, the ice softens. Then it cracks. Then it melts. And then the flow returns. Your joy will return the same way, not in one dramatic moment, but in gentle waves, a smile you didn't expect, a breath that feels softer, a moment of gratitude that catches you off guard. These are signs that joy is coming home to you. Let me ask you a gentle question. When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel anything without labeling it as wrong, without rushing it away, without criticizing yourself for being human? My dear, every emotion you have ever felt was valid. Every tear was meaningful. Every numb moment was a plea for gentleness. When you give yourself permission to feel slowly, safely, compassionately, numbness naturally begins to loosen. And here is the beautiful truth. Joy is not something you must search for. Joy emerges when the heart is no longer bracing for pain. Joy is your natural state beneath the layers of self-protection. Joy returns when you stop fighting yourself and begin listening to yourself. When you say, I am willing to feel, even if I feel slowly, something awakens inside you. When you say, I am willing to be gentle with myself, the numbness begins to dissolve. When you say, I am willing to open just a little, joy has enough space to enter. You don't need to force joy. You don't need to chase joy. You don't need to pretend joy. You only need to allow life to reach you again, a little each day, a little each breath, a little each moment you choose softness over self-judgment. You are not numb because you failed. You are numb because you survived. And now, gently, lovingly, patiently, you are awakening again. You are thawing. You are reopening. You are remembering. And joy, real joy, will meet you exactly where you are. And as we continue together, my dear, I want to gently lead you into the next insight because it flows naturally from everything we've been talking about. The truth that joy is not something you chase, it is something you reconnect with. This is where so many beautiful souls misunderstand themselves. They believe something is wrong with them because they can't feel happy on command. They believe joy is some special emotion reserved for people whose lives look perfect on the outside. But joy is not a prize. Joy is not luck. Joy is not a reward for working hard, being good, or surviving pain. Joy is connection. And numbness is simply disconnection. That's all. Not failure, not brokenness. Not a sign that you are falling behind, only disconnection. And disconnection can always be healed. I want you to imagine joy as a light inside your chest, a light that never goes out, even if you can't always feel its warmth. When life becomes overwhelming, when your heart feels too heavy, when your mind is too tired, that light becomes covered with layers of self-protection. You stop feeling it not because it's gone, but because you can't sense it through the layers. And that is why the path back to joy is a path of reconnection, not force, not pressure, not trying to be positive. Reconnection. Reconnecting with your breath, because your breath is the bridge between numbness and aliveness. Reconnecting with your body, because your body holds the truth even when your mind forgets. Reconnecting with your emotions, because when you allow yourself to feel even a little, your heart begins to come back online. And reconnecting with your inner self, that loving, gentle, wise essence inside you that has never left, not for a single moment. Many people ask me, but Louise, how do I reconnect? How do I feel joy again when everything inside me feels shut down? And I tell them softly, joy returns in the same way numbness arrived little by little. You don't need to feel joy fully today. You don't need to feel joy loudly. You only need to feel something, anything, that reminds your heart that it is safe to open. Maybe it's a warm cup of tea between your hands. Maybe it's the softness of your pillow. Maybe it's the sun touching your skin for one brief moment. Maybe it's the sound of your own breath. These tiny openings are the beginning of reconnection, and joy always follows connection, always. Sometimes people feel ashamed for losing their connection to joy, but shame is just another layer that blocks the light. So today, let us remove that shame together. You did not lose joy. You lost access to joy, and access can be restored gently, naturally, beautifully. When you place your hand on your heart and take a slow breath, you reconnect. When you acknowledge how you feel without judging yourself, you reconnect. When you speak kindly to yourself, even one sentence, you reconnect. When you pause and allow one emotion to rise instead of pushing it away, you reconnect. And each reconnection makes that inner light shine a little stronger. Now, let's go deeper, my dear. Because joy is not only connection, joy is also consistency. Joy is something you practice. It is something you choose. It is something you return to again and again, even on days when it feels far away. And here is the beautiful truth so many people forget. Happiness is a habit, not a destination. Happiness is built, not found. Happiness is cultivated, not hunted. You do not wait for life to hand you joy. You practice noticing joy. You practice choosing joy. You practice letting joy in. And that brings us to one of the most powerful teachings I have ever shared, a teaching that I want you to carry with you every day. Choose thoughts that make you feel good, not thoughts that impress others, not thoughts that prove you are strong, not thoughts that repeat your fears, but thoughts that feel good, thoughts that soothe you, thoughts that soften you, thoughts that make your heart unclench, thoughts that make your breath deeper, thoughts that bring a little relief, a little comfort, a little warmth, a little light. Happiness is not a miracle. Happiness is a mental pattern. Happiness is a choice repeated so often that it becomes natural. Think of happiness like a muscle you haven't used for a while. It might feel weak. It might feel stiff. It might feel unfamiliar. But every gentle repetition makes it stronger. Every small practice makes it easier. Every return to gratitude, compassion, presence, and love expands it. Happiness is not something you earn when your life becomes perfect. Happiness is something you feel because you give yourself permission to feel it. Happiness grows from the inside out. You see, so many people wait for the outside world to change before they allow themselves to feel joy. I'll be happy when this problem is solved. I'll be happy when I have more money. I'll be happy when I meet someone. I'll be happy when everything finally calms down. But my dear, that is not how joy works. That is how suffering works. That is how postponement works. That is how numbness tightens its grip. Happiness is not waiting for a perfect life. Happiness is choosing one small good feeling in the middle of an imperfect life. When you sit in silence for 1 minute, you practice happiness. When you say thank you for something tiny, you practice happiness. When you breathe with intention, you practice happiness. When you place your hand on your heart and say, I am doing my best, you practice happiness. Every small choice is one brick in the foundation of your joy. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer quietly inside. If happiness is a habit, what habits have you been practicing? Have you been practicing self-criticism? Have you been practicing worry? Have you been practicing fear? Have you been practicing shutting down? If so, that's okay. Truly, it just means you've been rehearsing the wrong script. And the beautiful thing about habits is that they can be replaced. One small thought at a time, one small breath at a time, one small moment of awareness at a time. You can learn new habits. You can learn new thoughts. You can learn new ways of being. And you can begin today. Let's make this practical. Imagine tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, before your mind remembers your problems, before the world has a chance to demand anything from you, you pause, you breathe, and you choose one thought that feels good. It doesn't have to be extraordinary. It can be something simple like, I'm grateful for this moment, or I'm willing to feel better today, or I'm open to joy again. That single thought is a seed, and if you water it throughout the day gently, consistently, lovingly, it will grow, and eventually it will become the new emotional habit that shapes your life. Remember something essential. You do not need to feel joyful every moment to be a joyful person. You only need to return to joy more often than you turn away. You only need to choose one good feeling thought more often than you choose a painful one. You only need to practice happiness in small, steady ways until it becomes familiar again. And I promise you, when you do this, even tenderly, even slowly, even imperfectly, something shifts. The numbness thins, the heaviness softens, the heart begins to thaw, the mind begins to open, the body begins to breathe more freely. Joy begins to flicker inside you like a candle slowly coming back to life. And eventually that flicker grows into a glow, and that glow becomes a light, and that light becomes your new way of living. My dear, you deserve joy not someday, not when everything is perfect, not when you finally become better, but now. You deserve joy because you are alive. You deserve joy because you are worthy. You deserve joy because you exist. And happiness is not something you have to chase. Happiness is something you can choose. Happiness is something you can practice. Happiness is something you can return to again and again until it feels natural, effortless, and truly yours. Why is it, my dear, that we so often forget the simplest truth? When was the last time you were truly here with yourself? Not rushing ahead in your mind, not replaying yesterday, not trying to predict tomorrow, just here. This question matters because presence is the doorway to joy, and absence is the doorway to numbness. And most of the time, we lose joy not because our lives have collapsed, not because something is fundamentally wrong, but simply because we haven't been inside our own lives. We've been living in the future, worrying about what might happen. We've been living in the past, grieving what didn't happen. We've been living in our expectations, our fears, our assumptions everywhere except this moment. And this moment, my dear, is where your joy lives. Let me speak to you gently, the way I would if we were sitting together in a quiet room. You are not unhappy because your life is empty. You are unhappy because your presence has wandered away. When your mind runs faster than your breath, when your thoughts scatter into 1,000 directions, when you rush through the day without ever truly arriving in it, joy becomes unreachable, not because it is gone, but because you are not in the place where joy exists. Right now is all you have. Make it beautiful. That truth is simple and powerful and profoundly healing. Because if right now is all you have, then right now is also where everything shifts. You don't need to transform your whole life to feel joy again. You don't need to fix every problem, rewrite every chapter, or solve every mystery. You only need to return to this breath, this second, this exact place where your feet meet the ground. When you give this moment your full presence, even for a few seconds, something miraculous happens. Your nervous system softens, your emotional body relaxes, and that faint sense of numbness begins to loosen its grip. It doesn't disappear all at once. Joy returns quietly, gently, in little ripples. But those ripples always begin with presence. So ask yourself lovingly, where am I right now? Not physically, but emotionally. Are you with your worries? Are you with your regrets? Are you with your fears? Or are you here with your breath, with your body, with your life? When you are here, even briefly, life becomes warmer, clearer, kinder. Presence does not require perfection. It requires noticing. It requires willingness. It requires becoming intimate with the moment you are actually living instead of the one you are imagining. And from presence, we naturally flow into the next truth. You cannot feel joy if you are afraid to feel at all. Emotional numbness is simply the absence of emotional connection. Nothing is wrong with you. You have been protecting yourself. You have been surviving. You have been carrying too much for too long, and your tender heart did the only thing it knew how to do. It dimmed the intensity of your emotions so you would not break. Numbness is not failure. Numbness is protection. But protection that stays too long becomes a prison. So let us speak honestly about emotional connection, because your heart, my dear, is longing to be heard again. Joy does not come roaring back in big dramatic ways. Joy returns through the smallest openings. When you allow yourself to feel a tiny sigh of relief, that is connection. When you pause long enough to notice that you are tired, that is connection. When you let a small wave of gratitude wash through you, even for 2 seconds, that is connection. Emotional connection is not about forcing yourself to feel everything at once. It is about giving yourself permission to feel one authentic thing at a time. Maybe today all you can feel is a quiet sadness. That is enough. Maybe tomorrow all you can feel is a soft warmth when sunlight touches your skin. That is enough. Maybe next week you will feel a gentle spark of excitement for something small. That is enough. Emotions, real emotions, return slowly, naturally, without pressure. When you stop demanding "feel happy now" and instead whisper, "I am willing to feel again," your heart opens just a little, and that tiny opening is where joy eventually enters. You see, numbness only dissolves in the presence of safety, and safety comes when you allow your feelings to exist without judgment. This is why I want you to practice something so essential, so liberating, so deeply healing: observing without judgment. Imagine your emotions as weather patterns. Some are sunny, some are cloudy, some are storms, some pass quickly, some linger. When you stop labeling them as good or bad, right or wrong, they lose their power to paralyze you. They simply move through you, as all weather does. Thoughts become clouds drifting across the sky. Feelings become waves rising and falling. You become the sky wide, open, untouched by the passing moods. When you observe without judgment, you stop fighting yourself. You stop punishing yourself. You stop expecting yourself to be anything other than human. And that is when the numbness melts, not because you forced it away, but because you stopped feeding it with self-criticism. Acceptance is the end of resistance, and resistance is the root of suffering. When you allow your emotions to exist, they soften. When you allow your thoughts to wander without attacking them, they quiet. When you allow yourself to feel just a little, joy finds its way back to you. Not dramatically, not immediately, but steadily, faithfully, gently. I want to talk to you like a close friend now, because I know you may be wondering, how do I actually do this? How do I come back to myself when I've been disconnected so long? The first step is presence. Come back to your breath, come back to your senses, come back to your body. The second step is emotional permission. Allow yourself to feel something, anything, without judging it. The third step is observation. Watch your inner world with gentleness, not criticism. And the fourth step, my dear, is patience. Joy does not return under pressure. Joy returns in the presence of patience. Think of a flower blooming. It does not bloom faster if you demand it to. It blooms when the environment is right, when there is space, when there is warmth, when there is light. You are no different. When you give yourself space, you heal. When you offer yourself warmth, you soften. When you allow yourself light, you open. And when you open even a little, joy returns. So let me ask you the question that matters most. Are you willing to feel again? Not perfectly, not completely, just a little. Are you willing to let your heart breathe again? Are you willing to let your emotions rise and fall without judging them? Are you willing to return to your own life? Your willingness is the medicine. Your willingness is the beginning. Your willingness is the invitation for joy to find its way home to you. And it will. It always will. Because beneath the numbness, beneath the tiredness, beneath the layers of protection, your joy is still there, patient, quiet, waiting for your return. My dear one, I want to talk with you gently about something so many of us suffer from without realizing it: the quiet habit of comparison. You see, the moment you compare, where you are now with where you used to be, or compare your inner world with someone else's life, or compare your healing with an imaginary future version of yourself. You cut into your own joy without even knowing it. Comparison is not a harmless thought. It is a slow leak in the heart. It drains confidence, drains presence, drains peace. When you say, "I used to feel more alive," or "everyone else seems happier than me," or "why am I not further along?" you send a message to your own soul that who you are right now is not enough. And that message hurts you more than you realize. Joy cannot enter when you are busy measuring yourself. Joy cannot return when you are busy grading your healing. Joy cannot grow when you are holding today hostage to yesterday's expectations. The truth is that joy does not come from trying to be who you were 5 years ago. Joy comes from befriending who you are today. This version of you, tired, healing, tender, growing, is worthy of joy too. You do not have to match an old version of yourself. You do not have to compete with anyone else's progress. You do not have to chase a future that isn't here yet. You only need to meet yourself kindly in this moment. When you stop comparing, you create the space where joy can finally breathe again. And now, my dear, let me guide you into gentle healing practices, soft, simple rituals that help you return to feeling without force, without pressure, without trying to fix anything. Healing is not about pushing harder. Healing is about softening inward, and these practices are meant to bring you back to yourself in the most loving way. In the morning, place your hand over your heart and ask quietly, "Right now, what do I feel?" Do not correct the feeling. Do not analyze it. Do not argue with it. Simply notice it the way you would notice a small cloud drifting across the sky. This alone begins to melt numbness, because numbness thrives on avoidance. When you gently turn toward yourself, even for 10 seconds, your heart begins to trust you again. At noon, give yourself a tiny moment of presence, just 10 seconds. Look at something simple around you, a leaf, a shadow on the wall, a cup, the texture of your desk. Breathe with it for 10 slow seconds. This is not a meditation. This is a return. Presence is medicine, and 10 seconds is enough to remind your system, "I am here. I am alive." You cannot heal what you are not present for, and this tiny ritual brings you back to your own life, softly, naturally. And at night, when the world becomes quiet and you are finally alone with yourself, whisper to your heart, "It's safe for me to feel again." Say it slowly. Say it as if you are speaking to a scared child inside you, because in many ways you are. And this one sentence begins to dissolve the fear that keeps your emotions frozen. It's safe for me to feel again. These words alone can reduce emotional numbness by half, because they tell your inner world that feeling is no longer dangerous. Feeling is allowed. Feeling is welcomed. Feeling is safe. So let us end with these gentle affirmations, spoken as if your own soul is saying them back to you. I am safe to feel. I am gently returning to myself. My heart is waking up again. Joy is finding its way back to me. All is well, and I am healing from within.